What's up, guys? Today we're working on a H&K MP5k. So this is a customer's gun that he literally just bought and sent to me for some upgrades, and I'm going to go over that in just a little bit. If you're new to the Wyshtech community, highly suggest going down in the description below and join our Discord channel. And or if you're looking for someone like myself to build you a crazy airsoft gun, such as the way that this MP5k is going to be at the end of this video, links will be down in the description below. So that out of the way, let's get to it.
Alrighty then.
Okay, so now we're going to go over the parts one by one. First, we're going to put some Rocket 13:1 gear ratio gear set. I absolutely love these gears because 9 out of 10 times they mesh really well and sound great and perform great. We will have to short stroke these because the customer wants this to shoot 350 FPS with 0.2 gram BBs. And to pair it up with, I'm going to throw in a T238 brushless motor. If you don't already know what this is, I'll leave a card up here to a link. I did a video of what's so fantastic about a T238. This is a 33K model with an adjustable RPM. On that gear set, I will be putting a selector delay chip, and I'll be modifying it so that I'm getting rid of all this material right here so it's nice and flush. And that will prevent premature engagement of the tappet plate and also have enough delay for those BBs to get into the chamber in time because of how fast this thing's going to cycle. So for the compression set, we're going to stick with the factory cylinder because I don't see any reason to swap it out. For compression parts, we're going to go with the Retro Arms 16 tooth piston with a 1 tooth removal and 1 shave down for AOE correction. And to pair with the Retro Arms piston, we're going to throw in a SHS TOM piston head. Very nice piston head. These guys hold seal really well and have a consistent FPS, and the ports are large enough for these high rate of fire. We're going to go with the EPS nozzle on this guy. We're going to try to make the cylinder head work with this thing because I'm trying to keep this thing more on a budget friendly side but also very efficient. So depending on how the cylinder head looks, we may or may not replace that. So I will go over that later in the video once we get the gearbox opened. And to support the gears, we're going to go with 5 easel bearings, 8mm, and 1 FLT bushing. This solid bushing is going to go under the spur gear because I warranty my work for 90 days, and this helps guarantee that warranty. And the reason being is because the solid bushing is guaranteed to last for a very long time. And that's where all the stress hits on the bushings the most when it comes to like a BB jam or misuse of the airsoft gun. I've never had the other bearings go bad, and the reason why we're using the Easel J Cage 8mm bearings is because this will make the amtraw as low as possible by reducing the friction, and they're precision made, so the gears align much better than using a solid bushing, in my opinion, and therefore the gears will run smoother. And for the electronic trigger unit, we're going with a version 3 Jefftron Leviathan optical. I discussed a whole bunch of options with the customer, and this is what we ended up settling with. We're not going to upgrade the barrel on this thing because it's not needed, because it's just an MP5k. This thing's not going to be a DMR or anything like that. However, we are going to put more reliable hop-up bucking and nub, and the choice is going to be the Super Macaron, unless we have issues, because I do know that these maple leaves have extra long lips, so we might end up swapping out to something else if we have feeding issues. One of those feeding issues being that the lip will fold over if it sticks out too much while it's cycling, and I'll be looking out for that. I doubt that'll happen, but we'll see. For the nub, we're going to use the Omega hop-up tensioner from Maple Leaf to complement the bucking over here. That's about it for parts. I'm going to go ahead and chrono the airsoft gun to see where it's at currently, and then we'll get to tearing it apart and go from there. All right, so the way I do things, we're going to do semi first with the MP5k or any build that I do in the future. 10 rounds on semi, and then I'll do a burst of full auto and see how the FPS consistency is. That being said, we're using a 11.1 LiPo. We're going to do semi-auto first and see what we get. Not bad. All right, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and flip it to full auto and see what she gets. See how many rounds a second. Not bad. That's pretty consistent in full auto, almost 20 rounds a second. Impressive. Let's see how that changes after the upgrades. All right, let's get to taking the sucker apart. Okay, now that we're on the bench, I'm gonna do a time lapse of taking this thing apart. So I'm gonna hit that fast forward and get this thing apart, and you get to watch. Okay, so right off the bat, I already know I'm gonna have to change some parts. For starters, I thought this takes a short type, and yeah, it takes a long type motor. My mistake. Usually with version 3 gearboxes, they take short type motors, and obviously this one takes a long type because it's got this weird adapter, and the motor sits in the body like you would put in a normal N4. So that being said, we're probably going to swap over to a Warhead Industries 36K motor long type because that's what I have in stock. Unfortunately, I don't have any T238 long types for this build. So we're going to switch over to that motor, but I'm not going to go grab it right now because now I'm going to get this gearbox open. I'm going to measure out these bushings because I think we also have to change out 2 different kinds of bushings or bearings, etc. and go from there. All right, so I'm gonna time lapse through taking this gearbox apart. So therefore, we're going to use this long cylinder head with this build. And I found out that the bushings on this gearbox is, in fact, 7mm. And so we gotta put the easel bearings out to the side, and we're gonna go with the Prometheus 7mm bearings. However, I still have the FLT bushing that is 7mm, and we're still gonna put it underneath the spur gear here. Those are the parts that we're gonna put in this guy. I'm going to go ahead and start getting the gearbox prepped and cleaned for all the new parts, including the bushings, and I'll get back with you guys in here in just a bit.
5 minutes later.
Okie dokie. So I'm going to go over what I did off camera. Starters, I took the sector gear and I short stroked it by 3 teeth on the release side. Got the gear shimmed up. The new 7mm Prometheus bearings are in, plus the FLT bushing. Got our spring guide. I got the compression set all set to go. Everything's good. I did a fitment test of everything here. I even checked to make sure that this nozzle was going to come back far enough for the BB to drop into the chamber, as well when it comes forward to make a complete seal to the maple leaf bucking inside the hop-up unit that we're going to put in. So with that out of the way, I am now going to install the Jefftron Leviathan version 3 MOSFET. And now I'm going to do my magic trick of installation. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3. Here we are, got all the internals in, and I'm about to close the gearbox. So I'm going to cover a couple of things that I ran into during the installation process of the electronic trigger unit. First being the selector plate. So just so you guys know, the Jefftron Leviathan version 3 is not necessarily made for the MP5. When I was looking at the instructions and figuring out where to put the sticker, I had to do a bunch of trial and error. And I found that on the selector plate, which is kind of weird looking compared to the traditional MP5 selector plates on version 2 gearboxes, if you look right here, I had to put this sticker through trial and error further and further back until I can get it to calibrate correctly in the Jefftron Leviathan app. And I found that the G36 sticker works the best. Obviously, the AK is not going to work, but when you're trying to calibrate for the MP5, you're going to use the G36 family sticker and the calibration inside the app. That being said, just to show you what worked best for me, on this specific selector plate, if you look right here, I had to space it away from the edge. You can see that little line right there. So putting it right here is what will get you the best results when it comes to calibrating your selector switch on your MP5k. When you go to trial and error it, the way I did it, and I made it as easy as possible, is that you have nothing in the shell, only the MOSFET. Close up the shell, throw it in your gearbox with this guy. This is for your selector plate if you don't know what this is for. But anyways, you'll throw that in there, drop the gearbox down, and then you'll put the screws in the bottom of the grip to hold the gearbox down. And then you'll put your selector switch through the gearbox and put this on the other side. Then plug it into your battery and get the calibration done and see if you put that sticker in the right spot. If you're having issues with the calibration, like for example, your percentages are just too close together, pull everything apart and move your stickers slightly this way a little bit more. Just use a new one. Make sure your surfaces are clean. Don't touch the sticky side with your bare fingers or else it won't stick. One important thing to do before closing up your gearbox and going through all that trial and error is that you're going to take a file, and this flat edge right here, you're going to file that down at an angle, at like a 45-degree angle. So you'll sit there like this. Reason being is that's to prevent the sticker from getting pulled off your selector plate. So make sure you do that. With that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and throw this gearbox together, put it in the lower receiver, and I'll get with you guys in a little bit. And then we'll do a test dry fire with the MP5k to make sure it's cycling smoothly.
5 minutes later.
Voila, now I got the lower receiver together. There's a couple things I want to go over to let you know what I did off camera. The biggest thing that I had to do was to rewire how this Jefftron goes together with this MP5 specifically. Originally, the OEM wiring came out the front here. To make things easier for the customer when he's installing the battery, I'm now putting the connector to the back. And the way I did that was, so I routed it like this on this side of the gearbox. I did some test fitting. I made sure that when this gearbox slides into the receiver, that this wire right here doesn't get messed up. What's really neat is that behind this wall on this upper receiver, this fits nice and easy when this slides in. Then I had to extend the wires. I got rid of the fuse because it's not needed. And I extended it a little bit, and then I put more flexible wire on the back here. Once he pushes his battery up here into the receiver, he can just plug it in like this and stuff it in without the wires getting screwed up. And then I also made sure that this cover went on all the way without binding on this guy. So I took care of that. And then the next thing I moved on to was rewiring the wire down to the grip. So with that being said, I used some shrink wrap to kind of separate the wiring right here, kind of like a T, so that the wiring will smoothly go into this receiver. And there's a little clip on the gearbox that holds the wires off to the side, so it goes down a little slot, and they both come down together right here. And the thing is that when those wires came out, they came out way too far. And here's some pictures to show you what I mean. Here's a before picture. And then after I did my modification, it fits so much better now. That's something that you will want to consider if you're putting a version 3 Jefftron in this thing. You will have to shorten up those wires, and you'll need a crimping device and put those new spades on. And now the wires fit in there, very clean, as if it was done in the factory. And now we are finally ready to dry fire test it. I didn't mention it earlier in the video, but I did put an M110 spring in this thing from Matrix off of evec.com. I also sell these on my website, but I got a distinct feeling that this is going to shoot way over 350 FPS because those M110s, they always yield higher FPS, like much higher. Like we're talking like 420 FPS. So anyways, okay, so I already calibrated the selector switch. So let's see if it shoots semi. Sweet, that sounds great. All right, now let's do full auto. Yeah, I think that's shooting way over 35 rounds a second. That sounds like more like 40. It's single sector gear. Okay, so I'm gonna put the rest of the way together, get this maple leaf bucking, put in a hop-up assembly, and we'll chrono this. Got it all together. Using 11.1 LiPo, the same battery that we used for our baseline, and I got exact 2 O's. This is what BBs I used at the beginning. Unfortunately, this battery, this 11.1, despite of its small size, will not go on the upper receiver, and that's because it's just a little bit too thick. So I went on eVic and ordered some 11.1 LiPos that are a little bit skinnier, and wait for those to come in and see how they fit. I'm pretty sure they are, because the diameter of this hole is 18 millimeter, and this battery is about 20 millimeters thick. So that's the biggest reason why. But anyways, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and go over to the chrono, and we'll see how this thing performs. Okie dokie, let's do this. 10 shots, semi-auto, and then we'll do a burst. And by the way, after this chrono, there's something I want to share that I did off camera that I found that I would like to share with you guys. So anyways, here we go. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, full auto, here we go. Damn. Woo! 36, almost 37 rounds a second. Alright, let's take it to the bench, and I'm going to share with what changes I had to make off camera. Alright, now we're back on the table. So the changes that I had to do was I had to change out the cylinder heads for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, if you look on the cylinder head that we had installed in the slong, the nozzle's shorter than this EPS that's now in it. You can see the clear difference between the two. The reason for this is I found that when the tappet plate moves forward, it actually goes past the facing of the cylinder head and makes the nozzle wobble. I opted for the EPS version to prevent that from happening. Additionally, if you look closely, you can see that this cylinder head has already been damaged from a few shots that I did off camera, and we can't have that. And it's mainly because this is too soft, so I opted this guy with a stronger pad here, so we got a little bit more durability. And that the cylinder head, for being plastic the way it is, this airsoft gun simply shoots way too fast for this polymer plastic to handle that much stress, so we opted for the metal ones for more durability. And as for wiring, I shaved down the metal on the back of the gearbox on this side so that we can sneak the wire down the little trough right here, so you can have the connector out the back. So when you put the battery down in this tube here, plug it in and then stuff it all down there, and then you can put your back plate on to keep that compactability of the MP5k. So that being said, what I think is pretty cool about that modification that I did is that you can now use a shorter LiPo battery. Speaking of batteries, 11.1 LiPo that we have here simply does not fit in the tube here. I actually had it hanging down off the back of the MP5k in order to test with 11.1. So I had to shop around and find a skinnier 11.1 about the same length. That way we can have over 1,000 milliamp hours. And I came across two batteries that were close, and unfortunately we're having to go with one of them being a lithium ion battery, which I hope will work sufficiently for this gun. But I did find a 11.1 LiPo battery that might work with this as well. So I got that on the way, and I'm going to show you guys to see how well it works with this MP5k once it arrives. Got the battery out of the package, and I'm going to show you guys how nicely this 11.1 fits in this MP5. Very easily, and it goes far enough in that you can plug in the battery and stuff in your wires and close up the back, you're done. So I haven't changed out the connector yet. I just wanted to test fit before I did. Because this fits just fine, I'm not going to worry about putting this battery in, because I already know what's going to happen. Lower performance. It's not going to shoot as fast and not as long. And anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and convert that over to Dean's. With all that being said and done, if you need any help with working on your airsoft guns, or you want me to work on your gun, I'll leave links in the description below. And if you would like to see more videos on how to do things and see more tips and tricks, hit that like and subscribe button down below. It helps getting videos like this out to more viewers just like you. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye guys.